Hello, and welcome back to our study of Peninei Halacha, the teachings of Rabbi Eliezer Melamed, Shlita. Find ourselves midweek, Yom Revi'i. Hope everyone is having a great week. Please continue davening for Chaylei Tzvagana Yisrael, Refuah Shlema L'chol Petzuei Yisrael, safe return of our hostages, dedicating our learning the Ili Nishmas, Seren Daniel Shemem, Rav Durham V'Sheli Yeshemikum Damo. The next chapter, Tchilas Man Tefila L'Chachamim v'Rabbi Yehuda. We're going to get into a very famous machlokas dispute in the Gemara about times for davening. Zman Tefilas Arvis Nitkein Keneged Ha'alas Ha'ivarim Padarim Shel Karban Hatamin Al Mizbech. So as we have discussed, the time for davening Maariv was instituted to correspond with when they would bring the limbs, etc., from the Karban Tamid onto the altar, onto the Mizbech. Ukvar Lamadnu, and we have already learned, Shenechlaku B'davar Chachamim v'Rabbi Yehuda, that there was a machlokas between the Chachamim and Rabbi Yehuda. LeChachamim Zman Mincha Ad Halayla, Ubalayla Hu Zman Arvis. According to the Chachamim, Mincha you could daven until nightfall, and at nightfall you could daven Maariv. Rabbi Yehuda Zman Mincha Mistayim B'Plag HaMincha. Rabbi Yehuda says no, that Mincha goes up until, well, it is known as Plag HaMincha. Remember, the half of the second portion of the afternoon. Shushav Rebbe Lefnei Sof Hayom, which is an hour and a quarter before the end of the day. And right afterwards, you can then daven Maariv after Plag HaMincha. So Lamaisa, practically speaking, Rishoy Adam Livchor Linhog Chachamim Oker Rabbi Yehuda. So as we have said also, that this is one of the sort of unsettled machlokas institutes of the Gemara, and one can choose whatever he wants. You could go like the Chachamim, or you could follow the practice of Rabbi Yehuda, but you have to only do one. You can't do both at the same time. If you're following Rabbi Yehuda, you have to make sure that you daven mincha before and not after Plag HaMincha. And if you're going to follow the Chacham, you have to make sure that you daven Maariv after nightfall. However, you cannot have the best of both worlds, and you're going to daven mincha after Plag, like the Chachamim, and then Maariv before nightfall, or we'll say certainly before sunset, according to the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. Even according to the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda, where the time to daven Maariv and the brachas of Kriya Shema can start already after Plag HaMincha, the time for saying Kriya Shema is still after nightfall, after the stars come out. So even if you would daven what's known as a Plag Minyan. So in our shul, in the summertime, we daven what's known as Plag HaMincha. So let's say Mincha Maariv will be, 6:45, and we'll finish at that time, and you come out from Maariv and it's still bright outside. Obviously it's the summer, it gets late. So in those instances, even so, you would, according to every opinion, you would still have to say all 3 chapters of Kriya Shema after nightfall. L'chatchila, ein l'shanos mishita l'shita. Really, ideally, one should not switch from one opinion to the other, Chacham and Rabbi Yehuda. El kol adam tzorach linhog tamid kechachamim oker Rabbi Yehuda. One should follow perennially the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda or the Chachamim. And generally speaking, we follow the opinion of the Chachamim, in which we daven up until nightfall. Again, we call that sunset, and then we daven Maariv afterwards. Omnam b'shas hatzorech, in a case of need, Rishai Adam l'shanos m'shitas Chachamim lina geshitas Rabbi Yehuda. In the time of need, one is allowed to switch to the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda, and he says, L'mashal, for example, b'shabbasos hakayetz, in Shabbos, in the summer, when Shabbos begins very late, so people want to start Shabbos earlier, so that young children could have a sense of Shabbos and they could partake in davening in the Shabbos meal. And therefore they daven Maariv much, much earlier. And if one is normally following the opinion of the Chachamim to daven the regular time, again, I just use that for colloquial terms, So you daven a regular time, and you happen to be in a place where they daven early. They daven a plag minyan like Rabbi Yehuda. So it's better to daven with a minyan earlier, even though it's not your minhag, as opposed to davening by yourself. In the note, he has more here, which kind of applies to our situation. So just a full disclosure, as I mentioned, that we daven plag mincha in the summer, and that's because of the late hour. And just practically speaking, in our community, we would have a much harder time gathering a minyan together at 8:30 at night as opposed to doing it at 6:45. So it's for practical purposes and to make sure that we have a minyan every single day. And it's been proven that it works. So it's one of the innovations that we've brought here to our community, and it's not unusual. There are other places that do it, but just knowing our crowd and our people, and this is the practice that we follow. But generally speaking, one should try to follow one practice, but it's not necessarily limited. If you're in a place where they daven, plag mincha, certainly you would be able to. So what's important thing is that we do daven. So thank you so much for listening. Please continue davening for Charli Yitzchak and Israel. For Shalem L'chol Pitzua Yisrael, safe return of our hostages, dedicating our learning Le'ili Nishmat, Sarah and Daniel Shimon, Rav Dram Vashela, Yasham Kendamo. Thank you so much for listening. Have a great day.